guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. I'm really excited for today's video because I had the opportunity to interview Charles and Jennifer Guest. They are the founders and creators of the Guest Hollow curriculum that you know, if you've watched any of my videos, that our family has really come to love and enjoy, and it has just been a blessing in our homeschool and for so many others out there. So I really wanted to sit down and do a call with them, ask them some different questions so we could get to know them better, get to know more about their company and how it came to be and what it is, of course, that they are working on next. So without further ado, let me interview Charles and Jennifer, our founders of Guest Hollow. All right, so we have Charles and Jen on the phone with us today. So we're going to find out a little bit more about them and about Guest Hollow as a company and all of the exciting things they have coming down the pipeline. So Charles and Jennifer, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me today. And to kick things off, can you guys just tell us a little bit about yourselves and your backgrounds?
Go ahead, you first.
Well, what exactly would you like to know, Abby?
Well, I did a little trolling on your bios. And so Charles in particular, I know that you have a little bit of an adventurous side. You have some interesting things you've been involved with in the past.
Well, I was a photojournalist for almost a decade. And then I've also been involved in a federal search and rescue program where we were tasked with if there had been an earthquake or collapsed structure or some other either natural or man-made disaster, going in and doing rescues and recoveries for individuals that were trapped or injured. As far as other training and stuff, my degree is in a public service field that also has that edge to it. How I got stuck behind a desk, I'm not really sure.
So do you still find that you've got a little bit of that adventure streak now? Do you go out and do anything outdoorsy?
I'm not sure I'd really classify it as adventure. I think that part of it is a means to an end. When you are on a fire line taking photos, or when you are at a murder scene or something like that taking photos, it's not so much for the adrenaline rush, at least not for me. It's just part of doing the job, the same as rappelling or crawling underneath collapsed concrete or whatever else might be going on. To answer your question, though, yeah, we were able to transition from living in the Silicon Valley to a place in the inland Northwest where we own several acres now, and we do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. I still keep pretty active, cutting wood for heating and things like that. Yeah, I like to joke. I started with a white collar job and ended up with a blue collar one. But we still try and do things that are outdoorsy and fun and stuff like that. And where we live just naturally lends itself to that. There's a lot of nature here. We have a lot of wildlife come through, and of course, the photographer in me still likes to chase after some of that, even though that's not necessarily recommended. I'm very careful about being respectful to the wildlife and staying far enough away that it's safe for both them and for myself. But so yeah, I guess there's a little bit of that.
Still enjoying it, yeah. So was that? I mean, that's a big change going from Silicon Valley to the middle of the woods. Was there a big learning curve when you guys first made that move, going from one to the other?
You kind of yes and kind of no. I'd always been involved in outdoors activities, and certainly the scouts and stuff always give you a little bit of preparation for outdoor living and stuff. But I guess I wasn't really prepared for just how physical it would be, especially since for economic reasons we heat with wood and stuff like that. And frankly, cutting 5 cords of firewood per year is pretty strenuous, and there's a lot to do.
Driving in the snow.
Driving in the snow was another one. I actually expected that was going to be insanely difficult. And after first couple months, it turned out not to be a thing for me. A lot of people making that transition are not so lucky. I'd had some prior EVOC training though, so being in skids and things like that was nothing new.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of the background for it, really.
Yeah,
All of those previous jobs.
Yeah, our whole lives kind of prepared us for this, is what it really comes down to.
That's awesome. And then Jen, on your bio, I swear we would be friends if we were living next door to each other, because gardening and crafting. So there are a couple of pictures of your garden on your website. So do you keep like a big garden outdoors, or what type of gardening do you like to do?
Yeah, I think I have, what is it, over half an acre worth of gardens, plural. So I've got the fenced garden that's got the kind of a mini orchard. I have a lot of fruit trees and berries and things like that. And we have a hoop house in that area, some hugel culture beds, which are kind of fun. And then I have flower gardens. And then last year for our anniversary, Charles bought me a great big gigantic 20-foot planted greenhouse. So I'm so excited to get started with that, because one of my goals is to grow things over the winter. So
I do need to break in here. It was not a greenhouse. It was a kit, and it was 2,461 pieces of kit.
Oh my. Was it IKEA-like
He didn't turn
instructions
one
too?
through.
Yeah, I think I filmed once. We put together a greenhouse here, and this was me buying it off of a whim. And then we had like tornado like winds come through one day, and they picked up that greenhouse, twisted it into a mass, and dropped it in another part of the yard.
Oh,
So my husband and I have discussed that the next greenhouse is going to have like a brick base, so it doesn't go anywhere, because I was so devastated after going through 20 pages of IKEA instructions to put that darn thing together. And I was like, I'm not doing it again. Just not doing it again. So, oh goodness. And then anyone familiar with your curriculum knows that there's so many different hands-on activities and things like that built into them. So when I saw that you also enjoy crafting, I thought, well, that's not a big shock. I mean, it's obvious you have a love for it if it's worked into your curriculum, and if it's something you did with your children while they were growing up. I mean, any favorite crafting hobbies that you have?
I like a little bit of everything. I mean, I've done things from making little sculpey miniatures and hand sewing and making things out of felt, but I'd like to learn more embroidery this year, and I'm gonna try some sewing. I mean, you name it, I've probably tried it. I have probably way more craft supplies than I will ever have time to get to.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. That's how my craft room looks. But you know, I tell myself that if I have it, someday I will need it. I don't know when that someday will be, but it will come.
Yes,
So
we have those conversations. You know, Charles goes and looks at all my supplies and he asks me, "Don't you want to get rid of some of that? You haven't used it for like 10 years." And I'm thinking, but no, it might be this year. I might actually do it.
yeah, yeah. I will tell you, as a scout leader for the last 12 years, I have the weirdest collection of stuff imaginable. And that's always my thought process is someday we're going to do one activity and I'm going to need to have it. And it's happened before. And I'm always like, ha, there, I proved it. It happened.
Exactly. Yeah, I even have a hard time getting rid of the homeschool science supplies, and I still to this day have some, despite the fact that my children are completely grown up. But you know, it's just the cool things. You got to have microscopes, and you know, you never know when you might need a look at a butterfly wing.
Okay, well, and especially when you're someone who's developing curriculum all of the time, who knows, maybe you need to test something out or try it and see what you think. And, you know,
Yeah.
then you have it all on hand and you're ready to go. And so I think that makes a really great transition into talking about Guest Hollow as a company. So for those who have not heard of your company or aren't familiar with your curriculum, what is it about the Guest Hollow programs that are different from things like a Becca and BJU and Apologia? What makes you guys special?
I think the fact that I schedule in a lot of different resources. So it's really going to work with any type of learner. I mean, we have gifted kids, there are reluctant readers, there are, you know, kids who are struggling or have issues, and it just all kind of comes together for all of them. It's multidisciplinary. I like to tie things together when I see natural connections, and I think it's just different because it just uses so many different things and it appeals to so many different types of learners. Um,
And
it's the way I like to teach and I like to learn. So It
Yeah,
just
and
seems,
on our end as users, I will tell you, like that's something that I've so appreciated because I have two kids with very different learning styles, very different. And we have been able to use, the same programs with both of them, but utilizing them differently by,
One,
like I said, picking and choosing from things. And I know you like to call it like that smorgasbord of options. And it's really what it is. And it's been so nice to take the things that work best for my strong reader and let her run with that. And then take a lot more of the hands-on things for my one who's more of a tactile learner and let him run with that. But they're both getting so much out of the curriculum in that way. So it's been a real game changer for us, especially these
oh,
last couple of years.
that's awesome. Thank you. I think part of it comes from my own experiences as a homeschool mom and working with my kids and just having, different needs and different abilities. And so that's just how I kind of try to build it in to work for lots of different kids.
So is that kind of where the whole idea for this came from, was for trying to create something for your own kids?
Yep. Basically, I probably tried every curriculum out there. And I always found myself tweaking things and adding and changing it up and, making it meet my own kids' needs and the things that they were interested in. And I just really expanded on things. And so then I started making things for myself to save money initially. And it just turned out to be a better learning experience all around. I thought, I really absolutely love doing this. My kids are thriving with it. They're doing so much better than just using, the stuff that we had tried before. And so it just went from there.
So what was the very first one that you did then? The first program you wrote?
I think the first complete, what I'd call a program, it was American history, and it was for one of my kiddos when he was in about the third grade. It's not available on the website anymore because it was just so ancient. But I am redoing one now, so there are some elements of that in there, and I think that was the first one I did. I mean, I did lots of other little things before where I added to things or made little things, but the first complete curriculum I think was the early American history.
And I know we first were introduced through history programs. That's the first ones our family picked up. But we quickly started to look at some of the other options. And so people who watched my channel, they know I have a big, heavy science background. I've studied biology and chemistry and nursing, and I love all things science. So when I was looking at your science programs in particular, you guys had a unique approach to them, and that was to go math free with the physics and the chemistry. Can you kind of tell us what the thought process was with taking that approach to it?
Some of it comes from my own experiences as a kid, and some of it comes from dealing with my own children. Just wanting to have an option where, I'm kind of an artist. I love science though. I'm not a math person. I like math now that I've taught it, especially in the elementary grades. It's not my favorite thing. And I know there are a lot of kids out there where that's the same. And I really wanted to make science accessible. There's so many kids out there who hate science because you've got all of the, the equations you have to deal with and so on and so forth. They hate math. And I thought, I love science so much. I really want to inspire other kids to love it too. And what's the way to do that is to have something that's a little different and that leaves that part out, but still is very heavy in the concepts. And so that's why I made chemistry in the kitchen first, just coming from my own love and my own experiences, and hoping that, I can reach some kids out there who may otherwise not like science. And we've really gotten some amazing correspondence from families who said, my kid never liked science before. Now they absolutely love it. They're changing their career plans. We've got a kid going to college to be a doctor because they use some of our stuff, things like that. it's really encouraging. But that's why I did it, because I love it so much. And I think a lot of people who make science curricula are really in that science mode, science and math. You know, they have that type of mind. I'm more artistic, but I also love it. So I kind of mix the two, and I think it just makes a really unique approach.
It's been as a parent, it's been an interesting experience because with my background being so science heavy, I'm like you said, I'm almost like that curriculum. Like I look at it and I'm like, dot, 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 math,
Yeah.
dot, dot, this equation. And so it was even a switch in for me in terms of how are we going to teach this and how are we going to roll through this. And we've been doing chemistry in the kitchen with both of our kids this year, and it's been interesting because my one daughter's already taken chemistry, and so it's been a chance for her to look at it without worrying about memorizing all of those extra
Mhm.
reactions and equations and everything, but just really understanding like what's going on, because she knows she's not going to be a chemistry major, but she's going to go into a health field, and so she needs to have a good understanding of this. And so they've just really enjoyed that. And being in the kitchen and doing the projects. And I've jokingly posted about what I call the Guest Hollow 15 with this course, because we have to eat all of the things that they make. And they're always so good. And I think I get kicked out of the kitchen more days than not now, because they're taking over and they're tweaking a recipe and doing something new. And it's been really fun. It's been really fun. And we're really excited. I just picked up your anatomy course for her for next year, and we're looking forward to tackling that from the Guest Hollow way of learning and doing that. And I think that's just going to be really great for her. And I know you mentioned you're artistic. I know you create a lot of the drawings and the illustrations that are in the curriculum. And one guy who's pretty prominent throughout a lot of them is this little dog named Beowulf. And so where did Beowulf come from? Is this an old family dog? Is this just something that came out of the blue? But I just had to ask because I see him everywhere in the curriculum.
Beowulf is based on a real dog that we got when I was a kid. We went to this mall, this big giant shopping mall way back when shopping malls were a thing, and they had a pet store, and there was this little filthy fox terrier puppy. I mean, he was filthy, and just the just the goofiest little thing. And I begged my parents, "Oh, can we please get him?" They, no, absolutely not. We're not getting a puppy. No. We left, we got in the car, and the ride home was probably maybe an hour and a half ride. And we were literally getting close to home. And I had just been whining about this dog the entire time. And finally they said, okay, fine. So we turned around, we drove all the way back. We got there just before they were closing, and picked up this little scruffy, scroungy thing and took him home. And um, he was he was a he was quite the character. They have all kinds of Beowulf stories, but he was just a sweet little dog. And so I try to incorporate a little bit of his personality, kind of his goofiness and some of the silly things. But so that's where the idea came from. I just loved the memories that I had of him. And when I was, making things for my kids way back when, I used to draw little animals and things like that, and they really loved it. And so Beowulf came to life. And
Well, at least you had picked a good name for that dog. My kids named our dog Squirt when we got him. So I don't think you would be as good of a character name to include in a curriculum.
well, Beowulf was named Beowulf because my mom was taking college courses at the time, and she happened to be reading the book Beowulf. So that's where that came from.
Oh, I feel sorry for her. My junior had to read Beowulf for her first novel this year, and she was like, "Why do you hate me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. It's classic literature. Gotta read it." So, but she's reading Paradise Lost right now, so I don't think she can complain about Beowulf now because that's a book. And I know the curriculum, there's so much included in it, from the videos to the books to the activities. And I can't imagine the amount of research you have to do to put this together. Is there kind of a like a rough idea of like how long it takes to develop a new curriculum program like this?
Honestly, it really depends. Especially it depends on how much I incorporate. Like if I'm going to make a textbook, that takes a lot of extra time, or workbooks, things like that. If I'm just making a schedule, it can, it, I've done things
Varies.
in short of, 6 weeks, and I've done things that's taken a year. I would say on average, it probably takes a year. Yeah, especially now with all of the things that I'm adding. All the online textbooks with this new American history I'm working on. I'm actually making an actual book
Oh,
because I
wow.
didn't find anything that I really liked. So I thought, well, fine, I'm just gonna make my own. So
Just add that to the plate, right?
yeah,
Just
just add it to the pile.
so well, and the books, gosh, I cannot stress enough how much we have really enjoyed the books. Like I'm a bit of a book hoarder. I
Yes.
look at the book lists and I know you guys do a great job of ranking them. Ones are the ones everyone should try to get all the way down to threes where this is just nice to have. And I'm like, oh, nope, I need to buy all of them. And so, yeah, so we're running out of space for books. And I mean, gosh, how do you even get started getting all of these books? Do you just like go and like raid the bookstore and go through them? Or I mean, is there like a giant library in your house? I mean, I just can't imagine how many books you have to go through to get it tailored down to this list of books that you give us, which is still incredibly substantial for each curriculum.
I have a love affair with books. I'm constantly looking at new releases and this and that. And our home library, we used to have how many linear?
We had
books?
75 linear feet of shelving, double stacked.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what we used to have when we had the kids. It's been pared down now, but I find my Kindle library has been growing, so I have like over 1,000 books there. And I'm just constantly looking. I'm looking online, I'm looking at Amazon, I'm looking everywhere. And usually to get a book picked out, I have to read anywhere from 3 to 12 books. Fortunately, I read very fast, so that's not a problem, but it's a lot of work. But I just love books so much that it's enjoyable. I really love doing it. So
Awesome. I think that comes across too in just how much detail you give on the books. And for those who have not seen how the schedules are work with the curriculum, there's always so many notes in there letting us know like, hey, we think this would be extra interesting, or um, even like content warnings. If you're worried about something or something is getting mentioned, you do a great job of just pointing that out so we can take the time as parents, look ahead at it, decide if it's something we want to continue to include or if it's something we want to pull back on. And I appreciate that so much. And so I can get your love of reading from all of these books because I read right along with my kids. I assign it. So I sit there and I read it ahead of time. And my reading quota has just gone through the roof from that. I mean, do you have any favorites after all of these years and all of these books?
um I don't have a favorite book because usually what I'm reading is my current favorite. So, right now for fiction, I'm reading the Farseer trilogy. That's my favorite right now. As soon as I'm done with it, I'll have a new favorite. So I don't really have any particular favorites, but I just love so many different books and different categories. So can't pin it down to one.
Now, originally, I know a lot of the curriculum is set up to be standalone. This is high school level this or elementary level that, or there are quite a few for the high school level that can be adjusted for middle school. But you guys are making an effort to change that. I know we've seen it with the geographies and culture, and you briefly mentioned American history, but you guys are making a little bit of a change to allow curriculum to be used more family style now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That's something that I liked to do when I was homeschooling. I really liked to combine my kids, and I had a pretty big age spread. But I just think it just was more enjoyable for all of us to kind of be sharing in the same thing, or at least parts of the same thing. And that's something that I really wanted to bring to Guest Hollow. I did do that with anatomy recently, well, in geography, and now I'm trying to do it with the history just because I liked that method of teaching so much. I think it's easier on the homeschool parent. I think it's nice for the families, for the kids and the siblings to kind of come together and share some things, even if they're doing it at their own level. Um, I just, I really think that it's beneficial, and it's the way I liked to do things. So, um, that's what I'm trying to incorporate, that everybody can do things, um, what's age appropriate for them, but be on the same page.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to have two different curriculums coming out. American history, year one is the first one. And so it'll be designed where if you have kids in different age levels, you can get the program for their age level, but all of the schedules kind of follow along. So if we're studying this particular moment in history in the high school level, the elementary level is studying the same one the same week, correct?
Exactly. Just the way that the geography curricula track, where they're studying the same thing during the same week, it's going to be the same for history. So I'm going to have a K through 3, and then grades 4 through 8, and then they will all track with the high school level more or less. There might be a couple little areas where they might be a little bit, off, just because the younger kids need more time with some of the books and things like that. But yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. So
turning around and doing it for American history year 2, then I heard.
Yeah, that's also in the plans.
Yeah.
We'll see kind of, if that comes next, or if I'm going to be working on another level of Beowulf's grammar. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to tackle first, but it's definitely in the queue.
Okay. So when do you have kind of an anticipated time frame when the American history ones will be available?
I hate to do that because I just don't know for sure, but I'm trying to finish both for the beginning of this year sometime. So we'll see how that kind of, I'm I'm not totally sure, but it will definitely be, again, barring unforeseen circumstances and crazy things that might happen. They definitely should both be ready before the next official school year. So
All right. Well, that's something for everyone to be, to be looking forward to. I know we're on track to have my son do American history year 1 next year. And so I'm excited to share about that soon with viewers. I've had a chance to start poring over things and start ordering books early. That's the bane of my kids' existence, is when mom is already buying curriculum for next year before the current year. And I'm like, well, gotta plan ahead, guys. So now, Charles, I know you do a lot of the managing of things online. I think a lot of us get a chance to converse back and forth with you on the Facebook pages. If somebody wanted to find out more about Guest Hollow or about any of the different curriculums, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Well, the very best way, of course, is to go to guesthollow.com, and you can see all of the curriculums there, and you can get a little bit of a bio about us in the About section, and anything that you would just want to know as far as nuts and bolts, you can find on the website. Having said that, we do also maintain quite a number of Facebook pages. And if you just put in Guest Hollow in a Facebook search, you'll see a bunch of them. If you get on one, you'll be able to figure out pretty easily, what all the other ones are, because we do have a little link that will show all of them. And maybe you could even put that in the description of your. Okay. So we have that. We also maintain an Instagram. Not so heavy on the Instagram, but the Facebook stuff. And we're totally open. Anytime anybody has any kind of questions or anything like that, or if you just want a little more elucidation about something, you're more than welcome to send email to guesthollow@memorableplaces.com, or hop on the Facebook page, ask a question, or send me a PM. I'll be more than happy to help you with anything that you possibly could ask, and we'll do the best we can to get you a good, solid answer on it.
Yeah, and I will vouch for that because there have been so many times, I'm on a lot of your Facebook groups because we've done a lot of your curriculums, and it's so nice when somebody has a question. You get so many other parents jumping in, providing information about how maybe they're tweaking something for their homeschool, or their thoughts on a book, or why did an experiment not work, anything like that. People are sharing pictures and videos. And I've gotten some really awesome inspiration from people who have shared photos of stuff that they're trying. And it's a really great community that you guys have built in those groups. So I definitely, if you are considering getting one of these programs for your kids, I'd highly recommend checking out the Facebook groups. You can scroll back through and see what everyone's doing. And of course, a lot of us do a big giant book sale at the end of the year. We take all of these fantastic books that we've been using, and then that way you're not hunting everywhere for them. You can buy them all at once and have them and be ready to go. So it's a really great thing to have all of those options. And speaking of picking up curriculum for next year, I cannot end this interview without asking you about your winter sale that is coming up.
Well, thanks so much. You're right. We have our giant winter sale that is coming up. As a matter of fact, it's going to start Friday. What we do is, instead of having a Black Friday sale, a Cyber Monday sale, a Small Business Tuesday sale, a Thanksgiving sale, a Christmas sale, an end of the year sale, we kind of wrap them all up in one, and we give you a little bit of a chance to kind of take a little break from the Christmas craziness, let your pocketbooks recover a little bit. And we have it about this time of year every year. And we started doing that, I guess, what was it, 3 years ago, something along those lines, because we know what it's like to, try and do, Christmas along with the meals and the family and everything else, making decisions about homeschooling, never mind the extra cost involved. We decided that we were just going to do it, at a different time than everybody else. So to answer your question, that starts Friday.
All right. And I know that there are a group of us here on YouTube who have been very excited. We're going to be putting together a whole playlist that's going to release the following Monday. And we'll be introducing a whole bunch of different individual curriculum programs from Guest Hollow in that playlist. So be sure to watch for that, because each of us will be speaking to something different that we're using in our homeschools and loving, and how it is that we're using it, and what it is that our favorite pieces of it are. So if there's a particular curriculum that you're looking for, check that out. I also will link down below in the description box. I have an entire playlist dedicated to Guest Hollow videos where I've talked about the different ones that we've used, some of the lesson planning that we've done, even some of the day in the lives where we've been doing different projects from the Guest Hollow program. So there's lots of great ways to find out more about it. And then definitely be checking out guesthollow.com and their winter sale. I think it's just a great chance to pick up some of those things for next year. Gives you a chance to look them over, start gathering books and supplies, and just finding out more from other people on the Facebook groups on how they're using it. So Charles and Jennifer, I want to say thank you so much for talking with us today. I know you guys have been wonderful answering all of our questions online, and it's just wonderful to put some voices to the names and find out a little more about you and about how it is that this wonderful company came about. So I cannot thank you enough for giving me a little bit of your time this afternoon. Don't forget that Guest Hollow's winter sale starts Friday, January 12th, and check out www.guesthollow.com for more information. Thanks so much for joining me for today's video, everybody. Happy homeschooling.